I have said so many dumb things in my life, and I'm not finished yet. Hopefully, today won't be one of them. But have you ever said anything dumb in your life? Yeah. Welcome to being human, everybody. And a lot of times, though, it's not what we say, but it is how we say it. So, this is part two of my series of how we can set conversations we have on fire, and we don't intend to. So, again, going back to the fire triangle, the one we learned in science class, it is all about fuel, heat, and oxygen. Well, let's replace that with history, delivery, and ego. Because the history is the fuel, that baggage that can keep the conversation burning, right? That can set it ablaze. The delivery, a lot of times, that is the spark of the conversation going up in flames. It's how we say things. And finally, what we're going to be talking about next week is ego. How our just need to be right when that kicks in, it can just really close our ears and close our mind. So last week we talked about history. If you missed that and some tips to prevent that, go back and check that out. This week we are talking about how we say things, the delivery. A lot of times that delivery, man, that is the spark that just lands in that dry pile of history that just sets everything on fire. So again, it's not what you say. It is how you deliver it that sets the emotional temperature of the conversation. For instance, I use the example of I could ask someone like, "Hey buddy, I have a question." That's way different than like, "Hey buddy, I got a question." Totally different vibe, right? So it is how we deliver it that sets the emotional temperature of the conversation. And poor delivery, that will turn minor issues into major blowups. Poor delivery will turn minor issues into major blowups. For instance, even the truth can be rejected when the tone is wrong. If we say the right thing but say it in the wrong way, and let me pause, you might not think you're saying it the wrong way. But one of the things I help people with when I work with them one on one is figuring out how to have messages land with whomever you're talking to. Because you might receive messages one way, you might prefer things really direct and to the point. Other people might need you to ask them how they're doing first, right? So the truth can be rejected even especially when the tone is wrong or how we deliver to that person is wrong. And that is a whole skill, which is why it's important to know your audience. When I was working in test operations with government and military people, like our language was dark humor and sarcasm. Guess who did not speak fluent dark humor and sarcasm? My wife and young kids when I would come home. So I would have to be very careful about changing how I spoke, whether it be at work or at home. And this is not a matter of being inauthentic. This is about being an effective communicator. You have to know your audience. You have to know who you're speaking to and how they are going to receive messages well. Because our job as communicators is to make sure people understand us. I have one word that will probably change the way you converse with people if you find yourself always in a situation, or really a lot in a situation where the conversation is set ablaze. And that one word is pause. For goodness sakes, pause. You do not have to say every smart comment that pops into your head as you're talking to someone. Pause. Do not feel the need to speak all the time. Pause. Because, especially at work, when we pause before blurting out something we probably should not, pausing enables you to sound like a pro. Whether it is a pro at being a caring spouse or a pro at whatever your career field is, pausing helps you sound like a pro, not a powder keg that just explodes. Pause. Sound like a pro and not a powder keg. The other pro tip I have to lessen the spark of delivery when we say things in the wrong way is breathe before you speak. So pause, take a breath, and just breathe. Breathing physiologically sends a signal to your brain that things are more under control than maybe we realize at the moment, especially a deep breath. It might take a couple, but breathe before you speak. Think of it as like a tactical pause, right? We're gathering our composure, we're seeing what the lay of the land is, and we are pausing. We're taking a breath. And here's why it's so important is pauses prevent saying stupid things. Yeah? Pauses prevent saying stupid things. If you don't think you have ever said a stupid thing in your life, then you're delusional. All right? That is part of the human experience, but we can reduce it. We can reduce the impact of the dumb things that we say. The best way to do that is to pause because pauses prevent saying stupid things. And again, just think of it like a tactical pause. Like you are trying to assess the situation. Pause and breathe. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Pauses prevent saying stupid things. All right, everybody, that is part two of three of how to stop our conversations from lighting on fire. Next week, we are going to wrap it up and talk about the oxygen that keeps the flames of these conversation conflicts going. And the oxygen that keeps it going, it's our ego. It's that desire to be right. So I'm going to share some very practical tips about how to start putting our ego aside so we can really start dampening the flames that oftentimes come about when we have these critical conversations. Hang in there, everybody. Remember to pause, remember to breathe. And the reason why we pause is because pauses prevent saying stupid things. Onward and upward, everybody. Take care.